Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video, I'm going to be unveiling this brand new ripe PuErh cake and remind everybody to find your sunshine. This is our brand new blended ripe PuErh cake. Check out the artwork by Celine. A new style because we've never done a blended ripe PuErh before. I love it. You can pretty much guess what this ripe PuErh is blended with, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And the reason why we've called it Find Your Sunshine, because it suits the tea, of course, but also as a reminder that happiness is a state of mind. And I don't mean to belittle anybody's suffering out there. No doubt the last year has been tough for many, many people. And we know that the effects of COVID and the lockdown are going to continue to have negative effects for people. So, of course, there are people suffering. And of course, maybe you haven't seen your loved ones for a while and you can't travel. You don't have those freedoms that we took for granted before. But ultimately, happiness is a state of mind. Happiness is a choice that comes from resetting your perspective within reason, of course. You know, you need some basic conditions for happiness. And if you take away the past and you take away the future, the considerations of the future, and you just focus on the present moment, for the vast majority of us, everything is actually okay. And so this is a reminder to find your sunshine. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't seek change and that you shouldn't strive to reach further to achieve your goals. But ultimately, happiness is a state of mind and requires you to focus in on the present, and tea is wonderful for doing that. If you want to see a whole video about happiness and tea, then I'll stick a link in the description below. So let's dive into this tea. You ready to check it out? The cover, bright, just, you know, trying to send some sunshine into all of our lives. And as you've probably guessed, this is a blend of ripe PuErh and Chen Pi, which is mandarin peel, but very important, this is aged Chen Pi. This is 2014 Chen Pi, so Chen Pi that has had the right amount of age for medicinal effects. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Here's the cake. You can check it out. You can see the sort of mahogany brown, dark brown, like almost like sort of burnt sugar brown leaves, and then these strips of Chen Pi. And you'll note that the Chen Pi itself, these mandarin peels, are quite dark, more in the brown spectrum rather than in the green spectrum. I've got here a Chen Pi which has been stuffed with tea. You may have seen these before, possibly. Let me just move this out of the way briefly. So this is an example of some other tea that you can get where the tea is stuffed within the Chen Pi, and you can see the color is more of this sort of green color. Sometimes they move a little bit more to sort of an orangey color, and then as it ages, it becomes deeper, darker, it becomes richer, it becomes stronger, it becomes much more of a medicinal effect, much more of a soothing effect on your stomach. And in Chinese medicine theory, it's a very, very highly prized ingredients for Chinese herbal formulae and for cooking as well. So this you may see on the market, or you may see some blended cakes with this sort of more green or orange. Again, very tasty, very refreshing, but not as medicinal and certainly not as prized in Chinese medicine. I don't really like these. I mean, some people really do. There's two reasons why I don't like these stuffed fruit peels. The first reason is that oftentimes the people who are making it are using relatively low quality or lower quality tea than I would like. And secondly, brewing is not so is a little bit annoying with this, because either you put the whole thing into your gaiwan, which is sort of all right for something that's about this size, but oftentimes they're bigger than that. And so it's a bit too much. It doesn't brew evenly. Then you have to break it. And if you break it, then if you're not using it all, then you've got this sort of mess of broken peel and leaves. So we decided that we weren't going to do this. We've been wanting to do a Chen Pi blend for a while, but we wanted to find the right ripe material and we wanted to find aged Chen Pi. We'll quickly scope this tea. This is a 2015 Mengsong Ripe PuErh. So Mengsong is the mountainous area in between Sichuanbana and Menghai. So it's part of that Sichuanbana area, very, very famed area for ripe PuErh tea. The season on it is spring 2015, and for the Chen Pi, it's 2014. So 7-year-old Chen Pi. And this is Xinhui Chen Pi, so it is the most famous area for Chen Pi, for mandarin peel in Guangdong province, the top quality area for Chen Pi. So the cultivar for the tea is the Daiyezhong variety. The origin, as I said, is Mengsong in Sichuanbana area. Picking and processing, this will be processed with the classic wet piling phase to ripen and ferment the tea. The elevation is around 1,600 meters. So this is a blend about 25% aged Chen Pi and 75% ripe PuErh. I'm going to start digging into this cake, and then we're going to be talking about what Chen Pi is used for and why we like it blended in our tea. In fact, Chen Pi has a very, very long history. Sort of records show that it was consumed in the Han Dynasty, so like 1,500 years ago. And actually, the first sort of use of tea was more as a food, like in soups, and it is thought that one of the classical ingredients to pair tea with was Chen Pi. So this is an ultra traditional blend. It may even be a blend which predates sort of PuErh, which is brewing with the leaf in water, the way that we brew it now. The traditional way of brewing tea before was to make it into a sort of soup, like treat it like a food. And so this blend is probably predating modern tea brewing styles. So very, very old. It was also a tribute, oh, the smell coming off it is amazing. It was also a tribute, Chen Pi is a tribute in the Qing dynasty to the royal court. And Chen Pi, as I said, has got a very, very long history in Chinese medicine. And as you age Chen Pi, the value goes up. So if you have something like, this is 7-year-old, which is nicely aged, sort of anything above 5-year-old is considered aged Chen Pi. But sort of if you get 30-year-old Chen Pi, then that can go up to like, you know, $1.5 to up to maybe $5,000 for a kilo of Chen Pi. So it's very, very highly prized, the aged Chen Pi. I heard a story, I've forgotten the details, but of people suing each other because I can't remember, family members stole their Chen Pi. So it's very, very, very highly prized. And so the medicinal effects of Chen Pi in Chinese medicine is that it has a downward movement of qi, which basically means that it's very settling. It's very good for your digestion. It helps to stop bloating, distension, stomach aches, nausea, any sort of movement which is sort of an up movement, so nausea or vomiting or belching. It's very much used for settling the stomach. And ripe PuErh is also very much used for settling the stomach. So this combination is the ultra settling tea blend. It's also very warming and is used to dispel dampness. And that basically means in Chinese medicine that if you have like a feeling of excessive phlegm, or you've got a cough, it's sort of like a phlegmy cough, then Chen Pi is always prescribed. It helps to dispel the dampness in you. I've also seen studies regarding potential anti-obesity effects, and they've done studies that sort of show that the consumption of Chen Pi may have an effect, a positive effect on your microbiota. I'm not saying that this is going to make you lose lots of weight, but you know, there's lots of medicinal effects, and it's one of the most common herbs used in Chinese medicine. Oh, by the way, the reason why I've got this here is to remind everybody that Bling Rock Kingpin is back in stock. So if you want to pick up this very sought after tea, it is now back in stock, and I would say that you can't go wrong by combining it with some of this Find Your Sunshine here. Right, let's warm up this guy one. So yeah, Chen Pi, aged Chen Pi, and sometimes it's called chenpi, like green peel. And as I said, that's less valued, doesn't have as much of a potent effect, but still can be very nice, bright and citrusy. But I really love the resinous, warm citrus notes that comes from aging your Chen Pi. Not only does it have more of a potent effect, more of a warming effect, so it's a bit more settling and warming whilst being bright and clear. It also just seems to pair much better, I think, with the warm rounded notes of a good ripe PuErh. Okay, so I'll put this cake here, and let's get these leaves in this warm guy one. See how I did. I don't think I overdid it this time. I tend to be a bit overzealous on my tastings. Yeah, that looks about right. Recommend something in the region of about 5 grams per 100 ml. But as always, please just follow your instincts and use your eye. Take a look at those leaves, and the smell coming off this warm guy one is spectacular. Here we go. Oh. So clearly that mandarin smell is very prominent, but if you've never smelt an aged mandarin peel, it is different. It's more resinous. It's more like an incense, or like an orange hard-boiled candy, or a mandarin candy. It just has a more cooked, warmer note to it rather than the very bright citrus notes of young mandarin peel. But let's dive deeper than that. The ripe PuErh is giving off a distinct muscovado sugar sweetness. So warm and slightly treacly, molasses-like. And then you pair that with this resinous note. Pine resins are in effect. If you've ever smelt agar wood, very prized in China as well, agar wood, that's present as well. Or imagine like incense, which is a little bit more in the resinous woody spectrum. Oh, and that mandarin just brings a beautiful sweet citrus freshness. Let's give this a rinse. The PuErh that we selected is a slightly lighter ferment to really sort of bring out a little bit more of a balance with the Chen Pi. We didn't want an overly fermented tea, although it still contrasts really nicely from our trials at least. Okay, let's have a sniff of this wet leaf. So the contrast is there, but they play off really well. So I'm still getting the sugary, the creamy, the almost vanilla-like notes. I want to say something like pancakes or French toast, but French toast, no, not French toast, because there's no egginess to this. It's more like hot cakes or pancakes with maple syrup. That's the right PuErh. And then you've taken a big dollop of orange or mandarin marmalade, and you put that on top. So you're getting that zesty contrast, but it's still in the sweet, jammy note rather than some sort of fresh citrus. Oh, yeah, that's it. Griddled hotcakes, a little bit of a char there. Griddled hotcakes, maple syrup, mandarin marmalade. Oh, brisk, but not overly bright, still warm. Okay, let's check the temperature. Yeah, that needs to go up. So, how's everyone doing out there? As I said, it is tough times, and for a lot of people out there, we're still in lockdown, and it just runs on and on and on, doesn't it? And we're hoping to get the Mayleaf Tea House back open as soon as we can, but we've got to be cautious about reopening too early, because we need to make sure that, you know, it's worthwhile for us. It looks like we're going to probably be reopening in May, all going to plan. That's the hope, and we can start welcoming everybody again and start having events back at the tea house. But it's tough times, and we really felt when we were sourcing this tea that we wanted to have a very bright cover, something that was really sort of reminding everybody to find their sunshine no matter where they are in the world, no matter what's going on in their life. And we felt that this very settling medicinal tea, and we'll talk about the body sensation on this, of course, as we dive a bit deeper, was perfect to represent that. You can see this mandarin peel in these strips there. As I said, about 25%, 20 to 25%, so a good amount, but we want to get the right balance where it wasn't overpowering the tea. Should I filter this? Let's see how this filter copes. About 20 seconds, something like that. You can see the color of the liquor is, it's got some brightness to it. It's not, you know, one of those really deep, like torty, dark liquors, but it is still got richness, but it's just got a hint of more reds and orange and pinks. All right, let's give this a taste. Move this down here. Cheers, everybody. Find your sunshine. Texture, medium, and quite refreshing. So immediately this has a difference to some of those other Sichuanbana ripe PuErh teas. The lighter ferment and the fact that it's blended with this Chen Pi just makes it an altogether more uplifting mouthfeel. Taste. Let's dive into the taste. So the challenge with blending is always to create contrast but create a cohesive experience. So you want there to be enough of a push and pull between the flavors, but you want overall for them to marry well together. And this is bang on, because I am getting the sort of sugared vanilla fudge notes of a great ripe PuErh, but because it's lighter fermented, it still retains a little bit of its youth. It still has a little bit of a, not raw, but a lighter, brighter taste. I'm getting woody, not antique wood, but more like woody resin incense. So the agar wood that I was talking about earlier. And this is sort of the mixing or the marrying where you're getting the resinous quality of the Chen Pi with the woodsiness, the sweet woodsiness of the ripe PuErh. And then, of course, I am getting the mandarin peel, but it's sort of showing itself a little bit more as a dried prune fruitiness, almost like you've taken dried prune and you've poured over a little bit of like cooked down mandarin syrup. So it's sweeter, it's a bit jammier, it's a little bit more dense and deep than the mandarin if it had been young mandarin. So again, aged mandarin, I think, is really what sort of takes this to the right level of of cohesiveness in terms of taste and hopefully effect. And that mandarin peel, Chen Pi itself, does have a little, because of the pith, does have a little bit of bitterness just on the middle of my tongue. So nothing that persists or sustains at the back of my tongue, but on the middle of my tongue, a little bit of bitterness. And that bitterness transforms into a lovely, fresh, bright, slightly cooling mandarin fruitiness, but again, still controlled. So it still feels overall warming. It's a strange thing, and I think that that's what is going to be the theme in this tasting, is this fact that it is a warming tea, but with a cooling, fresh, comfortable sensation. So I'm getting that tingly, citrusy note, but nothing which is too up in my nose, like very, very sort of, you know, if you've had a cocktail which has that mandarin spritz or orange spritz, it's nothing like that. It's much more settled. And this is what happens when you age the Chen Pi. The essential oils transform. They become richer, they become deeper. Some of those transient, very high aromatics dissipate, and you get this sort of set in mandarin flavor. Let's brew it up again. Very, very comfortable. I sound more and more Chinese in the way I describe things, because that's very commonly the way that it's described, but just my airways feel like cool, but not too cold. They feel clearing, and it feels settling. Everything feels settling. And I'm sure that this is going to be a great tea for digestion, but a great tea anyway if you're feeling a little bit overexcitable. That's not to say that this isn't going to give you some energy, but it'll give you a settled energy. Oh, check out those Chen Pi. We did not mess around. That's some primo 7-year-old aged Chen Pi strips from Xinhui in Guangdong. Second infusion is a bit darker. Just had a whiff of that empty cup, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Cheers. So, starting to move a little bit into that Chinese herbal note. If you've ever stepped into a Chinese herbal dispensary, or maybe you've sort of walked down the aisle of an Asian supermarket where there are some of those Chinese herbs that are used for soups, just a slight pepperiness, a little bit of aromatic woods. And that combination of vanilla, vanilla-y fudge moving to woodsy, resinous stickiness, moving to this pithy, slightly drying bitterness, and then into this overall sweet, warm, and slightly cooling citrus note is a lovely, lovely journey. Let me roll through some infusions because I'm really, really keen to get a feel for the body sensation, and we'll come back to give you my overall impression of this tea. 5th infusion of this tea, and the body sensation on it. Well, I just cannot imagine that there wouldn't be a time where you wouldn't want this body sensation, because it is so lovely and balanced. It's clear, it's bright, it's enlivening, it's awakening, but it's never rushy, it's never too much. It's very settling, that downward energy that people talk about in Chinese medicine regarding Chen Pi is in full effect. You can really feel this sort of settling, grounding quality. So whilst it gives you this bright, awake sensation, it's also extremely settling. So clear, bright, and I can imagine it working in the morning, I can imagine it working at night, I can imagine it working in the middle of the day. Overall, it's warming, so I'm getting a lovely light sort of flushing of warmth with the cooling perspiration, just sort of, again, making me feel very, very comfortable. And I can feel this digestive quality here as well. I haven't eaten, so hard for me to assess, but certainly I get a sense that it's very settling on the stomach as well. So overall, you know, it's a tea to suit all moods and to suit all times of day, in my opinion. The taste is very consistent, doesn't shift much, still remains very, very resinous, very, very jammy in its sort of stickiness, and that pithy bitterness, and that combination is great. And the transformation to that sweet mandarin, sort of almost like a mandarin candy sweetness, just coming through the sides with this tingling, cooling sensation. And yeah, I mean, it's maybe moving a little bit more in the Chinese herbal note. So it maybe starts to taste a little bit more of that Chen Pi as the tea starts to give up more and more of its flavor through the infusions. But I'm on infusion number 5 and it's still in full force, the PuErh here. Let's have a quick smell of the empty cup. Okay, it reminds me of something that we had with Fig Dipper and some other ripe PuErhs. It's got like a charred bourbon cask note, so it's slightly sugared and charred woods, not smoky but charred, and the sugar is like a brown sugar or a rock sugar. Very, very, you don't really smell the mandarin in the empty cup at all. It's mostly what you would get from a ripe PuErh, so charred woods and burnt sugars and rock sugars. Very, very comfortable sensation in my mouth. So there you go. Find your sunshine. I think I've done a full 10-step tasting on this. Oh, we're going to take a little look at those leaves before we go. But one quick reminder of the cover with the orange, the mandarin sun setting behind this this quite poppy beach with the fluorescent yellow sand and rays, sort of reminding people that this is the sort of green yellow of that Chen Pi. I hope you like it. Celine certainly put a lot of time and attention in it. It's deceptively simple, but there are quite a few little layers in this artwork. And yeah, wet leaves. Let's quickly take a look at those, and you can really see how they've expanded. And you can see the Chen Pi strips there. And let's just kind of compare this Chen Pi with this Chen Pi here. So you can see the color difference between the two. This is 7 years old, and it will, of course, continue to age. So you might want to grab yourself a tong of this stuff. There you go. Find your sunshine. I hope that if you pick it up that you enjoy it for its effect physically, but also as a reminder to find your sunshine no matter what is going on in your lives. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.